What's going on, everyone? We have an exciting video today. We have two Middle Eastern fragrances we're going to be talking about. I have been waiting and waiting for this fragrance to come out. So far, nobody has done a Maison France's Gentle Fluidity Silver twist or a clone, and this one is one of the main ones from some of the more mainstream Middle Eastern fragrance brands. There's been some really nice dupes from Barrett fragrances and also some other ones that I've kind of been looking at, and I've reviewed the Barrett fragrance one, which is definitely nice. But this one, it's kind of a breakthrough. And we also have a brand new release from French Avenue called Fierte. And spoiler alert, this is one of the strongest fragrances I've ever owned, and it's a really good bang for your buck fragrance. So if you love fragrances and you want to hear more about these, stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone, it's so good to have you. The first fragrance that we're going to be talking about today is called Varakh Silver by Fragrance World. Now, this fragrance box is such a cool presentation. It's got this really interesting kind of embossed look on the outside, and it almost feels, actually it's a plate. That is really, really satisfying. It kind of adds to that niche look. Also have the holographic sticker, so you know it's a legit Middle Eastern fragrance. I feel like those stickers really aren't that hard to buy, and you could probably fake it if you needed to. But check out this bottle. I mean, come on, this looks like a niche presentation for sure. The bottle has some heft to it. It has that really cool reflective material on the outside that almost looks like tree bark or like a wood of some sort. That's actually really nice. It's got this kind of cool matte feel around the bottle, and it kind of reminds me a lot of the Tom Ford fragrances. And so the cap actually has quite a bit of heft to it as well. It's got this really cool studded collar look on the outside, and it has this tiny little signet in the middle. It almost looks like a rose or like a stamp of some sort. It's interesting. Atomizer check. That actually throws it pretty far. Pretty standard for a Middle Eastern fragrance bottle. Oh yeah, that is definitely Maison France's Kurkdijan Gentle Fluidity Silver. Man, that actually smells really, really close. I gotta say, there are a couple subtle differences in the opening. I feel like the Gentle Fluidity Silver is a little bit more amber heavy, and there's just a slight warmth to it. It's not quite as fresh as the opening as this one. And if you like fresh stuff, this is still gonna be doing that. You have that really interesting kind of green coriander. You also have some of that juniper berry, so it's very mouth-watering. It's got almost like a slightly green metallic mouth-watering vibe to it. And so it kind of reminds me of green Irish tweed. If you like that really green aquatic vibe, it's not really going to be doing that, but it just kind of gives me that same olfactive profile. So if you like those green aquatics, you're gonna like this one. But I feel like I actually like this DNA even a lot more. It's got a little bit of a smokiness to it. It's kind of strange, especially from some of that juniper berry. You also have some nutmeg, and you know, as you get towards the base, you get some of that vanilla, amber, and the musk. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's almost like a tobacco kind of smoky wood that's really, really aquatic at the same time, with some of those really, really interesting green coriander and juniper berry notes. That smells really good. Yeah, I just keep coming back to this image of just a really expensive hotel whenever I smell this. It smells like clean, musky dryer sheets, like freshly laundered linens, or just nice pressed clothes. It has that kind of just clean white quality to it. And so with a name like Gentle Fluidity Silver, that's exactly what you're getting. A nice, classy, clean, white, silver, clean vibe out of this that definitely has a mature and a nice, just upscale quality to this. And so if you wear this with a nice polo, I feel like people are definitely going to take you seriously. You're going to take yourself more seriously. At least I do whenever I wear the original or this style of DNA. And you're just going to feel good about yourself. And actually, as this one dries down, it definitely gets a little bit more smooth, and it smells a little bit less in your face, but it is still going to be a potent, strong fragrance for a good 3-4 hours. So I remember when I first did try this one on my skin, it projected like crazy. I was in the line standing at the DMV, and I tried this one and the fragrance that we're going to talk about just after this one. But I remember I kept smelling it just kind of wafting up into my nose, and I kept thinking, this smells damn good, especially for the $30 or so that I spent on this one. So it's going to last you a good 3 to 4 hours of projection. It's going to push out probably a good 2-3 feet from you, but then once you get after that kind of 3-hour mark, it's probably gonna sit a little closer to your skin, maybe about a foot or so. But if you give somebody a hug, if you lean in real suave-like, you know, they're still gonna smell you and they're gonna think, who smells that good? It's gonna be you. And like the original Gentle Fluidity Silver, it's very unisex. It is very aquatic. It's musky. So if you love musky fragrances, if you're a musk lover, I think you're gonna love this fragrance. And I'm very surprised at how close this definitely captures that DNA, because again, not too many fragrance houses have done this before, but it smells really close. So again, I think if you want a really, really close version of that that smells really good for under that $30 mark, that's gonna last you over that 7-hour mark, this is definitely going to be a great buy. And that one is Fragrance World's Varakh Silver. And last but not least, we actually have the first fragrance that I've ever got from French Avenue. Now, French Avenue is actually owned by Fragrance World as well. So if I'm not mistaken, this is their slightly higher end versions of their fragrances. At least I've noticed definitely a step up in the presentation and the quality of the juice in here. So I don't know if that's true for all the French Avenue ones, but at least for this one, it's definitely the case. You got this really interesting sleeve on the outside with the cutout of this cute little wolf thing right there in the front. In the back, you also have that really cool silhouette of wolf atop the little cap. This just slides off here, and it took me a hot minute to try to figure out how to open this fragrance box. Try to pull in this, kind of pulling on the sides, but this actually just opens up forward like so. I definitely am a fan of this presentation. It feels nice and sturdy, and I don't feel like this is gonna be going anywhere. Now get a load of this bottle. I absolutely love gold and black fragrance bottles. It's just a staple. It's something that I love in fragrances and design. And you have this really interesting bottle shape. I haven't seen too many quite like this. And the cap itself is really on there snug, so you can definitely pick it up, you know, and you're not gonna drop this off of your shelf. I can already smell it. So on the cap, you do have that really cool wolf on there. It looks like it's howling and kind of stepping on top of the mountainside, and the bottle itself is quite classy looking. Now let's see how this atomizer is. That's actually quite a wide mist. I feel like some of the other ones are a little bit more narrow, but that was almost like a super wide blast. So I feel like if you spray kind of near yourself, you are definitely gonna blast yourself with some fragrance. Okay, now that is what I'm talking about. This fragrance DNA is definitely a familiar one if you've smelled YSL Babycat. Now, I myself have not smelled that one. I have smelled other clones of it, and this definitely smells familiar to those fragrance clones. Now, I know that Paris Corner has Varkah, and that one is a beautiful, just vanillic resinous fragrance that captures that Babycat DNA for a really good price. I think around $30. Now, this one I want to say was about $45 to $50, but the quality of this stuff is fan-freaking-tastic. So immediately when you spray this one, you get a blast of that black and pink pepper. It's nice, peppery, woody, and you also have a very, very strong bourbon vanilla note that they're calling it in there. So it's almost like a vanilla absolute almost. So it's gonna be very vanillic, super sweet gourmand, and it's gonna remind you of a nice fall baked good or like a baked cookie of some sort. You also have a really nice waxy elamite in there that's going to give it a little bit of a resinous quality, especially when combined with that frankincense. It adds a really nice, mature, just upscale, expensive quality, and that saffron in there gives it a really nice hint of that spice. So all together, it's sweet, vanillic, spicy, and it's going to be perfect for this fall season for sure. I think when comparing this one to the Varkah, I prefer this one because it's a little bit sweeter, and that one is a little bit more woody, a little bit more peppery in your face. They still both smell amazing, but I think this one definitely leans a little bit more vanillic, and as it starts to dry down, you definitely get more of that suede, you get some of that woody cedar notes, and it just smells more smooth and well put together. Like that one is a perfect $30 fragrance, but if you spend the extra 15 bucks, I think this definitely gets you into that next niche level territory. I think the saffron, the vanilla, and some of those other spices in there, it gives it almost like like a cardamom, just warm, spicy kind of gourmand vibe. It's warm, it's familiar, almost like you walked into somebody just baking something, you know, for a nice home gathering. That's what I pick up when I smell this. Yeah, scent-wise, this is phenomenal. In the dry down, it definitely gets slightly saltier, and you definitely have some more of those musks come out, and I feel like it just keeps getting better and better as it dries down. You lose a little bit of that sweetness from the vanilla in the opening, but it still definitely lasts well into the dry down. It's just not quite as vanilla heavy and in your face. It's not like a vanilla punch, kind of like Lattafa Serre was, but it still has that really nice lactonic, creamy, just nice, warm, rich undertones that definitely make this in my top Middle Eastern fragrances for sure. Now, longevity and performance wise, I kind of went into this a little bit with my reservations. I thought it's just going to be another clone of this. I picked this up because I liked the bottle, and it was a little bit more expensive, and I was hoping that this would last a little bit longer than Varakh, and boy does it do that. This one lasts a good 4 to 5 hours of projection, probably around that 4-hour mark, but depending on the weather and your skin, I think you can definitely reach that 5-hour mark where it really pushes off, especially if you moisturize your skin. This is going to be screaming off of you. And I remember I just did one spray on my kind of pressure point right here on my arm. I tell you what, this was pushing off so hard. I was standing outside in the sun and I could feel it just radiating off of my skin, just one spray. And it was just absolutely nuclear, and I could still smell it again that 2-3 hours after that. Like, it's been about 18 hours since I originally sprayed this on skin, and I can still smell it on my arm. I can still smell it. I feel like I'm getting all excited, but it's really cool to see a Middle Eastern fragrance actually last that long. And I'm shocked because a lot of the newer Middle Eastern releases, at least from Fragrance World and some of the other just mainstream Middle Eastern fragrance brands, they basically get you close to that DNA. They fulfill that kind of $30 to $40 mark. It gets you in that ballpark, and you're getting around designer, you know, performance and longevity. But this one, this really is worth the $50. In fact, I would even pay, you know, 70 or 80 bucks. This is like Nabil territory. But again, I think this is one of the best smelling versions of that Babycat DNA. I know I still haven't smelled that one, but so far out of all of the ones that are emulating that DNA, I think this one smells the best. And that one is French Avenue Fierte. So there we have it, 2 brand new fragrances from the Middle East, and I gotta say, I am very satisfied and happy with this kind of haul, because sometimes a lot of these are hit or miss. They smell decent, but these smell really good. Again, $50 for this. I'd say this is definitely niche quality. They could be asking, you know, double that price. And this one, I think it's definitely a good version of that Gentle Fluidity Silver if you don't want to break your bank at around that $30 mark. So both of these, excellent buys if you want to save some cash. So have you tried any of these fragrances, or are there any other clones that you would recommend of the YSL Babycat or the Gentle Fluidity Silver that you want me to check out? Let me know down in the comments, and I'd love to review them on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a chill rest of your week, that you've been doing okay, and I just hope and pray that you guys get to do the things that you want to do in your life that fulfill you. I'm Eli with Common Sense. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next time, bye-bye. And it's got this really cool little studded, it's got this really cool kind of studded I keep wanting to say calendar, what the hell?